Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of our Documents in WPF tutorial. In this part we are going to talk about the flow document. Okay, to start off, again I have a short description here that says flow document, on the other hand, is designed to maximize user readability and dynamically adjust the document layout based on user preferences and other variables such as display size and resolution. Okay. Alright, now that we get the description out of the way, we have visual tree right here. So the flow document consists of 3 parts. First one is the wrapper or document type. That can be either page viewer, scroll viewer, or flow document page viewers, flow document scroll viewer, and flow document reader. And also, actually, RichTextBox falls into the same category, but it's different, so I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial. And then the next child is FlowDocument, and then as you can see here, I have a note that says it's similar to HTML. You'll see that as we get into details. And then we have children elements, which is paragraph, list, table, section, block, and inline UI containers, and so on. Okay, having said that, let's get started with our tutorial. Alright, so got a new project, and I called it Flow Document within the same solution. So previously in part 1 we covered the fixed document, and this time around we are going to cover the Flow Document. Okay, to start off, so we're gonna need a wrapper first, or the document type. Okay, so let's start with FlowDocumentPageViewer, and in here we are going to need to add the flow document. So first the container, then the flow document, and then the elements. So let's start with the paragraph. Okay, the simplest one. Again, this if you dealt with HTML, I believe there is a paragraph tag that you add text to it. This is similar, very similar. Okay, so I'm going to add some content to this paragraph. So I'm going to copy some text from here and paste right in there. Okay. All right. So we added our text. And as you can see, we have the text right here in the designer, and you'll notice it divides the page or the window into 2 columns, equal columns. Okay, let's run this. Okay, we have our paragraph here. And then we have some controls. We have zoom in, zoom out, or zoom out, zoom in. And then we have page navigations down below here. Okay. So as you increase, it kind of the text flows and becomes one column. As it gets larger, and as you go smaller, it becomes, the window splits into 2 columns. Okay, so that's the page viewer. I'm gonna just go over quickly these 2 because we are going to focus on the third one. So the next one is FlowDocumentScrollViewer. Okay, so this one, let's run this. As the name suggests, it has a scroll bar on the right hand side, and as the text grows and doesn't fit in the window, the scroll bar will activate and allows us to scroll the content. Okay, let's see if I can make this smaller. There you go. Okay. Alright, so the third one is FlowDocumentReader. This one is kind of combination of both. So instead of switching between the other two, it gives us the controls so we can change the view on the fly. So you'll notice the first one is selected already. This is like the page viewer, and this one here, it says scroll mode, and this one actually behaves just like the scroll viewer. And there's one extra here. This one, if you have more than one pages, you'll split the window into multiple pages or 2 pages. And then we get an extra search. So if I say flow, it will search and find the word flow for us. Okay. Again, we still have that zoom in, zoom out functionality, and everything else that comes with it. Okay, so that's our wrappers. So which one do you choose? The first two are lightweight. If that's all you need, you can choose between one of the other. This one is, it kind of requires a little more processing power, but you get extra functionality with it. So it depends what you need. All right. So, okay, we had a paragraph. The next element is section. So this section is similar to the div tag in HTML. So you can add multiple paragraphs that are related to each other or other items. Let's add a paragraph here. Let's say document types. Actually, flow document types. Flow document types. Okay, and right below here, I'm going to add a list. And in here, I'm going to say list item. So the first one is going to be flow document page viewer, I think. Okay, we got this little error here. Let's see why. It says list item does not support converting from string. Okay, so we can't just type in text in between the two texts. We have to add a paragraph. So I'm going to just Control KS. Just going to convert this to a paragraph. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste this a couple of times. So flow documents, instead of page viewer, now we have scroll viewer. And then we have our reader. And finally we have rich text box. Whoopsie. Okay, let me change the background on the section so you can tell the difference where we stand. Okay, all right, so this section covers one paragraph and a list. Okay, all right. Next we are going to look at another element, and this one is BlockUIContainer. So this element, when you want to use any controls that belongs to WPF, you're supposed to use this container, BlockUIContainer, or inline UI container if you're inside of a paragraph or another element that belongs to FlowDocument. But yes, BlockUIContainer, anytime you want to use a button, a list view, list box, grid, anything like that that belongs to WPF, that's when you use BlockUIContainer. In reality, you can use inside a paragraph too. I use it, it works for me, but this is what it's designed for. So I'm going to add a stack panel here. It takes one child, but that child, if the child is a layout panel, you can add multiple items, multiple controls inside it. Okay, I'm going to set the orientation to horizontal. And I'm going to add a few ellipses here. So ellipse, I'm going to get a height of 15, width of 15, and a fill of red. What a surprise. It's always the red. I guess it stands out more. Alright, let's copy and paste this a couple of times and change the colors to purple and green. Okay, let's center this, horizontal alignment to center. Okay, so we got a nice looking 3 dots here. Alright, so but again, in reality, if we want to add this to a paragraph, I think it would work. Let's try this out. If I copy right here, paste right here, it'll work. But that's what BlockUIContainer is for. Okay. The next element, let's take a look at the table. So the list up here, this list one, this belongs to, again, FlowDocument. Don't confuse it with list box or list view. This is an element that's designed for FlowDocument. Okay, same thing with this table here. Okay, so inside table we need the table row group. Okay, open close, and then we need the table row. Let's say I want to add table row. I'm gonna need a cell, right? Then after the row I need a cell. So the first cell. So for first cell I need some text, and that's gonna go into the paragraph. Let's say fruits. Okay, so we got our first cell up here. Let's copy and paste this. The second cell, which is like column 1 or row 1, cell 1, row 1, cell 2. So this is going to say pears, and let's add one more, and this one will say apples. Okay, that should be enough. Alright, I'm gonna copy this whole row and paste below. Let's say I want this to show the sales. Say for January, sales are 10 tons, and 10 tons for the apples, and pears, and 20 tons for the apples. Okay, we can actually color this. Let's say the first row, I want to get a background of light blue. Okay, right. And like I said, we could, BlockUIContainer, we can add image here, but just like that, we can add inside a paragraph as well. So if I add a paragraph, I can say image and get a source. I'm gonna type in the path. I think I missed something here. Let's see. Desktop images. Okay. Alright, beautiful. Okay, so you can add image inside the paragraph as well. Okay. Alright, so we have seen paragraph, table, list, BlockUIContainer, and section. That I think covers pretty much all the elements. Let me see if there is any I left behind. Table, you got the table, parent, section, list. I think that was it. But again, if you want to add a list box or list view, you can do so either inside a paragraph, or if that doesn't work for you, I mean it's working for me, you can add inside the BlockUIContainer. Actually, you know what, let's do one example with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a class here, simple class. Let's call this person class. And make this public. And this class is going to have a couple of properties. ID, and let's say this is string, name. So ID and name with two properties. Simple enough. And I'm going to add some hard-coded data up here. Okay, so I'm going to add a window.resources tag, open close, and I want this to be an array of person. So there's going to be X type person. Okay, and let's get a key, say person. Alright, let me get rid of this local thing here, or just build it. Let's build this. I think that's why it's giving that error. Okay, they're cleared, so let's add some data. So ID 1 for the first person, and name, let's say Joe, and let's add one more. This one is going to be 2, and let's say this is Jane. Okay, now we can add, say, a section here. Let's get a paragraph. The first one will say peoples. Jesus, people. And then I'm gonna add a let's see, list. No, so I'm not getting list view. Well, actually paragraph first, right? Okay, in here I should be able to add list view. Right, okay, so now I can add list view. Can set item source to our binding statics, binding source to our static source of person. I should have called it people, but anyway. And then I can add a list view and add a grid view to our list view, and then grid view column, get a header of ID, and display member binding, it's going to be ID, and close this out. Should be maybe binding ID. There you go. And copy and paste this. And this is going to be binding name, and change the title to header to name as well. Okay, let's change the width, kind of squeezing the grid view. So let's change the width on our list view to something like 400. Actually, no. Well, that can stay there. Let's change the width on the name property as well, and actually both of them. Let's split them. I guess that's the issue with using WPF controls. It doesn't know how to size them. Alright, let's change this to 300. Okay. Alright, we can adjust the placement of, we can center the values if you want to, but I think that's enough. Let's make this to 200 just to get rid of that scroll bar. Okay, so now we added a WPF element inside a paragraph, the list view. Okay, but again, it's recommended to use inside the BlockUIContainer. Okay, so you can still use the binding to get data from your classes. All right, let's see. Let's run this. Make sure it builds and it works. Okay, so now we have page 2 as well, and when we go to page 2 we see page 2, and now if I switch to this page view, 2-page mode, now we got 3 pages, so I split each column into 1 page. Okay, alright, scroll viewer changes the view so you can scroll the content up and down. Again, it's multi-purpose use, right? And again, you can zoom out, zoom in as you like. Okay. All right, I think that's it for now. We're going to go into a little more details in the next tutorial. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.